Hi, everyone. My name is Valerie Friedlander, and I'm your host for Motherhood Unlimited, the #1 summit for moms who want it all. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. It is our mission to take the limits off motherhood and empower moms to have it all for their own unique and vibrant life. We believe that when moms learn to create where, who, and how they want to be, their happiness and overall life satisfaction increases, and they become inspired and inspirational for their children and each other. Today, we are talking about designing your life. Our expert is Samantha Hugessen. I invited her to share with you because of her work helping people filter out the outside noise to figure out what they truly want in life. Thank you so much for being here, Samantha.
Hi, it's my pleasure.
Awesome. So before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about Samantha. For many years, Samantha has worked with organizations and individuals, helping them build their dreams, accelerate their results, and create richer, more fulfilling lives. Samantha is a mom of 2, considered a master coach, and has been featured in Easy, RCI Magazine Europe, and Women's Exchange. She has also been a guest speaker on stage with Mary Morrissey. With many successful years in the personal development industry, as well as extensive experience in leadership within sales, service, training, and management, she is a certified professional coach, head of her own company, A Designed Life LLC, and is a life mastery consultant. Awesome. As a sought-after speaker and trainer, Samantha has offered transformational workshops, coaching, and training to groups and organizations across Canada, the US, and Mexico. Whether it's a short 10-minute talk, a lunch and learn training, a motivational keynote speech, or an afternoon workshop, you personally, your group, organization, or company will be ignited by her and be thankful you took a step into your designed life. Well, I am thankful to be taking a step in with you today. Yay. And I would love to hear about how you started and all about your journey to taking the limits off of motherhood.
You know, I became a mom a little bit later in life. I was 36 when I jumped into mommyhood, and obviously at that point, not obviously, but at that point I was a giant career person, right? So in my mind, I thought I'm going to work because I'm a career person. I couldn't imagine myself staying home with children. And I'm going to work and I'm going to travel the world and all that. And as a mom, the switch went off and said, wow, all I want to do is hang out with these people. I love my people. But I'd also put myself financially in a state where I had to continue to contribute, right? Because we had the big house and the big mortgage and the safest cars. You know, we did all this for mommyhood.
Yeah.
And so I did that for a while. You know, I was very fortunate. I got to spend a few months with my babies before I went back to the workforce. And I would come home at night and my dinner would be under the light and I hadn't got to tuck them in. And I was missing that. And we had a beautiful home and we lived in a beautiful place and our quality time when we had it was great. I had a big rub, I had a big discontent. That I knew I still wanted to contribute to the world. I knew I still wanted to work, but I really wanted to spend more time with my children and modeling for them what living a full life looks like. I certainly didn't want my kids to see me complaining and being a victim of what I have to do. We have to do what we choose to do. Mm-hmm. That's my belief. So in doing that, I just decided, what would I love? Well, my background's in training and sales and leadership and management. But what did I really love about that? I love helping people. Really all of that, the overarching message, I love helping people. And one of the greatest ways to help people is help them find out what they love and lean into it. Yeah. And so that's what I did. I became a coach, and I've been a coach now since 2009. I quit the big career job and sold all my mutual funds and went to school and here I am. And I currently have literally thousands and thousands of hours of coaching and supporting under my belt.
Awesome. Yeah, I love your story. I think partly just because it resonates so much with mine of being in the corporate world and having, putting together this life that I thought was supposed to be the life, you know. I had the husband, I had the lucrative career. Yeah, it wasn't ideal, but it was, you know, it was good. And then I got the house. I created this life, but it was a lot of financial sucks to maintain. Yes. And then after having a kid, it was like, what happened? Like, I thought this was like the last puzzle piece, and it was just like trying to fit that one thing in, like, made the whole puzzle explode.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't that the pieces weren't valuable in and of themselves. It was just they fit together differently. It was figuring out how to put them together in a different way that worked better for me, not the should way.
Well, we didn't have we did have a model. Oh, okay, this is what you get stuff. Let's get stuff. When we get stuff, we've made it.
Yeah.
Then they throw in these amazing people. They throw in children.
Mm-hmm.
And no one can prepare you.
No.
That love and that desire for their greatness is going to go in front of everything.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Well, and I thought, you know, I've heard people struggle with it, but I thought, well, I'm going to be different. You know, because I have it together. I've done all this self-work. I'm going to be different.
Of course you are.
I'm not different. I mean, I was, but like not that different, you know? So I would love to hear more about how you help people design their life.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you know, I ask questions of people. You know, I ask them simple questions, and simple as in the concept is simple. To do it's not as simple. You know, running a marathon, pretty simple. Put on your shoes, go run. No, you need to practice at it. So when I share this with you, I don't want people to feel like they're a failure if they get stuck on trying this process. But really what it is that we just need to ask people, what would you love? Mm-hmm. What would you love if you know, that where you live didn't matter, and what the economy was doing didn't matter, and what people would think of you doesn't matter, and, you know, just privately to your own, if you have your own notebook, and say, you know what I would love in the areas of my health and well-being, you know, modeling for my kids, having the energy to be with them. You know, we don't have to be perfect. Trust me. If they look at you as perfect and then they go out in the world and they see that it's not like that, you're really not doing a service to them. But we are asking you to model healthy, right? So it's what would you love in the areas of your health and well-being? What would you love in your relationships with your children, with your coworkers, with your parents, with your spouse? What would you love in the areas of finances and time and money freedom? Right? Those are important, right? Mm-hmm. We were just talking at the top of our conversation about how we had all these responsibilities. So we had the money, but it really took away from the freedom to choose a different life. We had to reconstruct, right? Mm-hmm. But what would you love if you didn't have all that giant mortgage, or if you didn't have to do this? And that's what it comes down to, is really discerning, what would I really love? Not what could I do if the conditions were all right. Just write it out.
Yeah.
You'll be amazed. What'll happen is, well, I'd love to work with people. I'd love to only work 20 hours a week. I'd love to, you know, blah, blah, blah. But what happened is our old programming is going to say, yeah, but I don't want to work 60 hours a week. Mm-hmm. Or I don't want to have to commute. Or I don't want to take time away from my family. Mm-hmm. That's going to come up. And I don't want people to ignore that either. Don't ignore it. Mm-hmm. What you do is go, okay, so what do you want then? Mm-hmm. Well, I don't want to work 60 hours a week, so I want to work 20. Okay. I don't want to commute a long way. So what do you want? Well, I want to get out of the house, so I'd like to just be in my neighborhood. Perfect. Mm-hmm. So we energize after we discover the things we love, then we start energizing them. And it's amazing. I have a great story of a woman who is displaced, nurse background. Mm-hmm. And she's like, no, just really so unhappy. And we took her what would you loves, and she opened a very successful soy candle company.
Nice.
And she works 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
And she can raise her children. And she's turned a hobby into a passion. Mm-hmm. And she's this company's quite well known in my neck of the woods. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of it. I may have rambled a bit, but.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's perfect. Just, it's so it's so much about just like getting out of the I don't want, and focusing on what do I want. And I even take that as small as like, well, I feel so, I don't want to be tired anymore. Okay, well, what do you want? Well, I want to be rested. Okay, so let's focus on I want to be rested, because you can move towards, it's so much easier to move towards something. It's like focusing on the positive, or like the actual, it's like with little kids. You don't tell them what not to do, because it's like they tune out the negative, and they go towards what you say. They're like, don't touch that. Oh, I'm gonna go touch that. Yeah, exactly. And I think our brains seem to work the same way of like, well, I don't want this, but we're focused on the thing we don't want. So we're going towards it because that's what we're focused on. And it's hard to get out of that mental space.
It can be hard, right? But we just catch ourselves. And so, I'll offer up a great tip that somebody gave me once. And it used to be hard to think that way. Mm-hmm. It's just, and sometimes we might say it used to 50 times a day. I used to be exhausted all the time. It's just like, because I'm going to make actions toward not being exhausted all the time. Mm-hmm. Right? So what can we do? This is the world of moving forward. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about moving forward. We're not talking about that story from yesterday anymore, because that was in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, and I like that as a stepping stone, because I was thinking, somebody I heard said, just reframe it like you would for a kid. But I like the stepping stone, because sometimes I have trouble. It's like, I'll say the thing I don't want, and then I'll reframe it afterwards. But if I use that stepping stone of, remembering to say I used to, which is so much easier than reframing.
Yes.
It's taken a lot of work to reframe for my kids. That is not some people that comes naturally for, that is not me. So I love that stepping stone.
Yeah, for sure. It's not a stumbling block. It's a stepping stone. It's I used to have a hard time with that. My kids say, Mom, I'm not good at that. Should you really address that? And it's like having a mom as a coach, right?
My kids are small enough, they haven't found it annoying yet, but my husband has definitely called me out a few times and been like, okay, you're coaching me, because I'll start asking questions. He's like, you're doing that question thing again. I'm like, well, I need more information before I can do anything with what you just said. Whereas before, I used to jump in because I'd tell myself the story. I'd tell myself a story about what was going on with another person, with him, or my own story. And now I think before I do that, to get curious and say, okay, so what does that actually mean to you? Like, you're saying you want me to be more supportive. What does supportive look like to you? Because when I think of, I thought I was being supportive, What
does that look like? By the way, moms, that's a great thing to do with your kids. Yeah. When they say, I want this, and they maybe don't use that tone. Maybe they say, Mom, I want this.
Yeah.
Tell me more. It's a great question. Get curious about your kids. Tell me more. Because our job is to direct them, absolutely. But let them think it's their idea. It's very empowering.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The tools of coaching have been very, very beneficial for me as a mom. Like, he says, oh, I had a good day. Well, what does good look like? Or what kind of evening do you want to have? I want to have a good one. What does that mean? Good behavior. Okay. No, what does good look like?
What does it look like? Pretend it's bedtime. Yeah. Tell me what it looked like before you went to bed.
Yeah.
Well, I got to spend time doing this, and I did that, and we experienced this. And it's really, it's getting the mental picture, because, the parts of our brain, need to see in color. That's the most powerful thing that we do. And I can get into that a little bit more about how we can create this life, design our lives. But part of it is seeing it. And what you just said you do with your little one. What does that look like?
Yeah. So tell us more about how we take those steps to design. We've got the overall like visioning, getting past the what I don't want. Yes. And then what do we do?
Okay, so we get past the what I don't want, and I just want to reiterate one more time. Please don't say, oh, don't think that. Oh, that's negative. Oh, or we go cancel. It doesn't work, you guys.
Oh, my mom used to do that. Cancel. I thought it was so funny when I was a kid. She's probably going to watch this and be like,
oh, well, I'm going to give you some scenarios. I'm going to give you a tool here not a tool. I'm going to give you an example of why cancel doesn't work.
Okay.
Maybe it works for you, but not for me and my clients. I want you to imagine for a second, picture the Statue of Liberty. Picture the Statue of Liberty. See the Statue of Liberty? And it's all green in the harbor. Okay, wait. No, cancel. Don't picture the Statue of Liberty green in the harbor, arms up like this, green there. Don't picture that green statue.
Right.
Oh my gosh, it's just full in your mind, green Statue of Liberty. Am I lying?
Oh yeah, no, it's so true.
So that's what cancel, don't think that does. It actually energizes the thought.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever people want to use, they can say, what's a better way of thinking that, which we call reframing in the coach's world. We say, okay, reframe that. What's a better way of doing it? You can say, not this time. That's an old thought pattern. If you haven't yet learned how to reframe, because it takes practice to reframe, then you can say, I don't think that's what I meant.
Mm-hmm.
What I meant is, up until now, I used to think that way. I don't think that way anymore. These are all small tools. So then what this does for you is you have your list of loves, right? Well, so what if you wrote a story as if you already had that?
Mm-hmm.
So now we start talking about the subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
The subconscious mind is really dumb. It is. It's just a mirror. It's just a mirror. It believes whatever you tell it. And it's a giant storage bank. So you can keep putting images in it and it keeps storing the most recent images. Sometimes it'll pull an old one out if it's really strong.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can put into our minds the image of, I'm so happy, I'm so grateful, I've got this tremendous business at home, I only work 20 hours a week, I've lost all my baby weight, I feel healthy and strong, and I have date night with my husband, and so on and so on. We start telling that story, subconscious mind, which is, it's debatable. Scientifically, they sometimes say, well, 75% or 80% of, what you're emitting is your subconscious mind. It's the iceberg, just so you know.
Right.
Below the water is your subconscious is much greater than what's above.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you have it telling this story? Telling the story of your greatness.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah, absolutely.
One of the ways that we tell the story of the greatness, first we decide what is it that we would love.
Mm-hmm.
Love. And then let's psych the little brain out back there, the little mind out there, and we tell it as if we already have it. It's kind of like maybe a morning visualization or before bed visualization, and you don't say it in the sense of I want, I wish, I can't, wouldn't it be great if?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to send a message out to my subconscious mind right now, and I'm going to pretend I have it. So happy and grateful now that I am, I have, are.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. And I can tell you I've done this specific type of thinking technology, and visualizing it and seeing it in color, putting on the feeling tone of it with thousands.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I believe that because I've heard that the successful people do that. Like they tell their subconscious that this is what I want, and you don't have to know how. Your brain actually generates that, right? Like the steps to it does that. But you have a thing about how. Tell us about the thing about how.
I hate the word how.
Yeah.
No, I say hate. It's not true. When I was in business, in our corporate world, how was a big question that I asked a lot. Because in my past life, I was kind of like the cleaner. I would go into companies and make them profitable again. Mm-hmm. So how am I going to do that? Okay, here's what I didn't know. I was already utilizing a technology that I concretely learned later through my coaching. I was reverse engineering it. Mm-hmm. So what I would do is I would say, okay, so this is my end result. This is what, write down the word what, forget how. If you have the word how written down, now draw a line through it and it's going to be what. So this is my end result. What can I do to get that? It's so much more powerful than how. Well, how am I going to do that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
My mentor uses a great analogy, and we talk a lot about the questions we ask. Okay, the question we ask need to be really smart, big questions.
Mm-hmm.
If you want smart, big answers, the answers to your questions are absolutely proportionate to the quality of the questions you ask.
Yes.
So if you said, well, how could I, generate an extra $1,000 a month for my family and still spend time with them? Right? That's the question. And you sit there kind of puzzled. I don't know, energetically, it feels kind of like downer to me.
Mm-hmm.
But if I said, what could I do to generate an extra $1,000 or $2,000 a month and still hang out with my kids after 3 o'clock every day? What can I do? Ideas will start flowing.
That sounds so much more possible when you put it that way. I mean, like, really listening to you say it that way, I hear it's like it's looking for the action. It seems more action oriented and more possible to be able to achieve that. Yeah. I love that.
Cool. I'm glad. Yeah. Energetically, what is so much more powerful?
Yeah.
And then you follow it with my clients might say to me, I go, okay, so what can you do around that? I don't know. If you did know.
Yeah.
Ask yourselves that. People should ask themselves that. If they say, what can I do today in the direction of that? One tiny itty bitty step is still a step.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I need to add to that. Do it imperfectly.
Mm.
Everybody's waiting for conditions to be perfect to take a step. Do it imperfectly. It's okay. If something doesn't go right, it's just redirecting you. You can't know where to be redirected if you're not moving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One of the things that was really helpful to me was to reframe the idea of perfect, to be like, I think of perfect as this idea, this outside idea of perfect. It's this thing that's not part of me. Whereas if I think of myself as I'm already perfect, like innately perfect. And everything that I do is perfect for right then, for me, right in that space. And to take the judgment off of it by saying it's right or wrong, good or bad, and just saying, you know what, it is, and it's perfectly the way it needs to be right now. I don't have to know why.
Yes.
But just to reframe that idea of perfect and what perfect actually looks like, it's different in different situations for different people.
Well, for sure, and what we notice, what we notice, I was just talking to a client about it this morning, is that people won't move because they're waiting for perfect. So they procrastinate.
Oh, yeah.
So if we can take that, you're already perfect, and you're supposed to be learning through this process. You're supposed to be learning through it.
Yeah.
So if it's all perfect, you didn't learn squat. You also didn't stretch, and you also didn't, push the boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably is not giving you a lot of life, because what you're doing is what you know for a fact you can do.
Yeah.
What your self-esteem is currently telling you can do. The fact of the matter is you were made perfect.
Yeah.
And as far as you stretch, you will get the feedback to take you to the next step every single time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's been my story, actually, the perfectionist thing. My husband has it really bad too, but that perfectionist stuff, and actually how I started getting into dating again was to go, okay, it's not going to be perfect. I had a really bad relationship. I got out of that. And then I was looking, waiting until I was ready, until I was perfect, until I was good to go. And then I was finally like, you know what? I'm going to be waiting forever if I do this. I need to just try it. And then I actually met my husband through being mindful and intentional and just saying, you know what? I'm just going to learn instead of looking for perfect. And I think that's how you connect. Like, my parents aren't perfect. But I think in some ways that's how I connect with them now. Their imperfections actually help me feel better. Of like, I'm actually really happy with the work that I've done in my life, with the foundation of their growth that I've shown. Because I mentioned my mom said cancel all the time, but like she continued to grow. Right. And watching that, even though I learned a lot of patterns early on through their stuff, as they grew, it gives me hope. And it gives me confidence that I can, one, do it myself, and two, that even the baggage that my kids get, if I continue to work on myself, you know,
That
that I'm giving them that too.
huge gift for your kids. You know what? If we show them that it's not failure, it's feedback.
Oh, I love that. Oh, yeah.
It's not failure, it's feedback. It's saying not this way. You know, the greatest scientists in the world don't expect the first time they apply something to their experiment for it to be successful. They're hoping to get feedback. That's all we're doing. We stretch out, and so we model it for our kids. We model that it's okay not to be perfect. Do you see the stress that my children now are 10 and 13, and I see the intense amount of stress put on them to live up to their friends' expectations, their parents' expectations, their society's expectations. So if you can just share with them, is it the best you could do? Did you do the best you could do? Yes. Okay. I'm proud of you. Moving forward, if we wanted to do that differently next time, what are some of the things we could do to change that outcome? And so they learn that making mistakes or failing is okay. Right? Oh, you guys, you'll raise a bunch of okay kids.
Awesome. You mean they might actually, you know, find a life that they enjoy, design a life that they enjoy. Yeah.
And it's not always going to go their way. My children are little nerds, and they call themselves nerds, not geeks. Apparently there's a difference.
There is a difference. There's a substantial difference. I think it varies with who you're talking to, but yeah, I am also a nerd. So, or I don't know what their definition is, but
I never was. I was a jock. So I don't understand why they don't want to go play basketball and do all these sorts of things, which they still have to get active. But it's a matter of, okay, you know, what would you love, guys? Okay, so give me a version that includes what I would love. So it goes back to the parenting kind of stuff, but anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of that tuning into, you know, what our vision is, I know you talk a lot about purpose, and that's something that's been coming up a lot that I also talk about, of like, when you're tapped into what your purpose is. I'd love to hear you share more about how does one tune into one's purpose?
Okay. So if you do the assignment, so to speak, that I shared, the long list of loves, and I mean, it could be pages of loves. And I always encourage people to write. Don't just think it, ink it. It's very powerful writing. It'll start telling you a story. It'll start telling you a story. I become completely overwhelmed. I have in the past for sure become completely overwhelmed when people said, "What's your purpose now?" I don't know. I don't know. I want to help people. Everybody says that. I want to help people.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, let me take some pressure off of these moms and parents and that.
Yeah.
If you are living a life that you love, you are helping people. Period.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah.
Period. People are watching you.
Yeah.
They're watching you be living a life you love. That's super admirable. You are going to show up different when you show up at, you know, pickup line at school. You're going to show up different when you're at the grocery store. You're going to show up different when you're in love with your spouse, when you're in love with your children, when you have defined what that looks like to you. And it's just showing up. So a lot of people, when they say, well, I love to help people, great. It doesn't mean you have to go change bedpans at the hospital. That's because that's where I was stuck my whole life growing up. I knew I wanted to help people. I wanted to be a psychologist. I wanted to be a music teacher. I wanted to do all that. And look where I ended up. I'm super helping people. What I've learned through this process is that, for instance, I work very hard on my marriage because I grew up in a house with like broken marriage, lots of broken marriages.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a model of what that looks like. So it was a pinky swear situation with my husband. What comes first, kids or me? He said, kids. I go, no. Because if there's no me, we're screwing them up.
Yeah.
So we definitely, our kids are first. Come on. But
Right.
it's a matter of designing, what does that look like? I want to help people. So people told me, get this, that you guys have the best marriage. Oh, you guys out on date night? Oh yeah, it's Wednesday night. You're out on date night, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
That's where we start really putting this into action.
Yeah.
And finding your purpose is finding what you love. I love having a great marriage. I love laughing with my kids. I love naps.
Yeah.
I love, these types of things. So when you do your love list, it will unveil ways you love to live. And then when you start taking actions toward that, your purpose will show up. It will show up. But if don't beat yourself up going, I don't know my purpose. Oh my gosh. It's because it's not a one question answer, you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. And I used to think that helping people was like fixing them, I'll fix you as the person everybody would come to you with questions. And so, I have the best advice for you. And the funny thing is I actually thought becoming a coach initially was like mentoring, and to find out that it's not mentoring. It's helping people go deeper in themselves. And I had a client the other day say, like, this seems so like intuitive. Like, how did I not think of this? And it's like, it's totally different. I mean, it's why coaches have coaches, right? It's because it's hard to see, my best thinking got me here. I need somebody to help me go deeper than just the stuff that I normally have going on in my head and the big questions. So like, how do I break it down into the pieces that work for me and the steps that I can take to move forward. So I love how you're breaking those things down, because those are my top things of like, find your, have a vision for your life and know your values. And that's exactly what you just talked about, but breaking it down into those small, easily digestible pieces.
Yeah. Well, and knowing your core values is part of it. I'm glad you brought that up. If something gives you a rub and, it's not sitting right, it's bouncing off, it gives you a rub, it's not in alignment with your core values.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give you an example. A lot of us might say, oh, my girlfriend, I coach people that are in multi-level marketing. Okay. I coach them. Mm-hmm. And they've got the Lexuses and the Audis and they have all that and they're moms and, that type of stuff. And so they might say, oh, that my friend's doing that and it's really good, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to tell you right now, from my experience with these very, very successful people, it wasn't 10 hours a week. Mm-hmm. So then it's going to start bouncing against your core values, because your core value is, I wanted to work part-time and still model or be available for my family. Mm-hmm. If that's your thing, you know what I mean? Right. And I say that because everybody's thing can be very different. Mm-hmm. I used to say before I was a mom that I would go crazy if I was a stay-at-home mom. I thought I would go crazy. And you know what? For the most part, I do need to structure. I can handle a little bit of on my hands and knees, hanging out with the kids and doing cars. Mm-hmm. But then I know I'm my best person when I stimulate myself at another level. Mm-hmm. So it's when you get that rub, listen to it. What is this? What is this? Is this in alignment with my core values?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That it's funny because I definitely see that, especially in a relationship where our values may be slightly different, and it's finding that what's true for us as a family, but also just recognizing that if this doesn't rub me, but it's rubbing my husband's, or, vice versa, and what that's about. Because again, it's normal for him to be upset if his value is getting rubbed the wrong way. And maybe it's just a reframe, or maybe we need to do something differently. But that absolutely, we had a miscommunication and a whole argument over something that I thought that I had taken care of something, and he didn't see it the same way that I did. And we told ourselves different stories about it that rubbed our values the wrong way.
Oh.
And recognizing that and taking the step back and go, oh, well, it makes perfect sense that you'd be upset about this if you're thinking this.
Well, and you can't expect everybody to be as good a communicator as you might be.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So you say us women, and not always, okay, so I'm doing a broad stroke here, but we tend to communicate more. We'll communicate more, where guys tend to shut down more, right? But they feel it. It hurts them. I'm coming to thinking of a gal I know who's also a client of my husband's, and, confidentiality. Certainly, I'm not telling either one what I know, because I know the truth. I promise you, they have completely different views, and both of their feelings were terribly hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And due to the confidentiality, I couldn't say, hey, all I could say is I can only tell you this, that I do know both sides, and both of you are not seeing the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit off track that we say that, but it's also one of those tools, put in your tool chest, as in somebody's really reacting here.
Mm-hmm.
I need to pause and see where this is, because it's probably not what's right in front of my face or what I think it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, what's a different way I could look at the situation?
Yeah.
Instead of the way that I'm currently looking at the situation.
Right.
And it has every impact, like you were saying, on how I show up. Because it taking the charge off of that and recognizing that, oh, they have, that what they're feeling is valid. And I can own my own stuff and take my responsibility of taking the steps that I need to take to be happy.
Well, this is big grown-up practice stuff, right? These types of behaviors. The other thing that we can always add to help people is 6 months from now, is this exact conversation going to matter?
Mm-hmm.
In 6 months, if you sit down and look back at this,
matter.
Yeah. All of this.
Yeah.
Probably no.
Yeah. I love that. How important is it, really? I mean, it might feel important right now, but how important is it really? Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, we've got this vision. We're working on our values and kind of what's really important to us and all of that. How do we start taking those confident steps towards that vision that we want now?
Okay. Good. Well, we circle back to about 15 minutes ago and look at our notes where it says how,
Mm-hmm.
and we cross it out,
Mm-hmm.
and we say, what could I do today in the direction of that?
Mm.
What's one thing I could do? What's one thing I could do? Working with a client this morning who has, going through menopause and having horrible sleep. Like, okay, what's one thing you could do? I could call the doctor. When would you do that? Before 9. Excellent. And that's all it is. Just, okay, we'll take a step in another week. I want you to picture this, because most people are very visual. Not everybody, but most people are very visual. So I want you to imagine this. If you were looking out the window, you have a window in front of you and behind you. Behind you, right?
It's kind of like to the side of me, which makes my light really fun.
Oh, you look fantastic anyway.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, well, you're in a chair. I want you to look to the corner of the room.
Okay. Good. The corner.
Whatever you want.
Okay. There's a corner right here. I will look at this corner.
Okay. So if you move a few inches to the left or right, look at the corner again. Did your perception change at all? Did you get anything else in your peripheral vision that wasn't there before?
Yeah, I have a little bit more of the door. The door vision, and I can see more over here.
Okay. So let's just imagine for a second. You can stop looking at this.
Okay. Like, there's not really much there right now.
No, but could you imagine looking out your window?
Yeah.
See, I live on the Sea of Cortez in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. So when I look out the window, I see the bay.
Mm.
If I move this way, which there's a cruise ship in it right now. If I move this way, I see different parts of the bay, and I don't see the cruise ship.
Mm-hmm.
What's happened is more has been exposed by me moving.
Yes. Yes.
If I move an inch or a foot, the view is going to change. So I tell people that I don't care if it's a giant action. I'm going to call it quit my job today. I'm just kidding. Please don't do that until you've really thought it through.
Yeah.
Anyway, if it's a giant action or a small action, it's still a step.
Mm-hmm.
Perspective changes and ideas and things will start dropping in.
Yes.
Okay, that's really what it comes down to, is you start downloading ideas and things when you move.
So it kind of sounds like what you're saying is it's helpful if I stay in the moment.
Stay in the moment, but take a step.
Yeah.
What can I do today? So if we take the love list, if we put a bow on this, we take the love list and the things that we didn't love showed up, and we decided, you know what, I'm reframing those. Up until now, I used to, it's not 60 hours a week, it's 20. We have all that. And then we actually write it out as a little story.
Mm-hmm.
And we take that little story and every day we read it. And it says, I'm so happy and grateful now that I wake up rested. And my husband and I have breakfast together before we go to work each day. My children are in, tremendous environments, and we vacation 3 times a year. And you tell the subconscious a story, right? Mm-hmm. And then what happens too is that you start to say, what can I do today in the direction of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Instead of doing the chess game of if I move this and then this and then this and then this. Yeah.
We already talked about all those obstacles. Oh, now you're waiting for perfect. It's not going to happen. Now you're asking how, and you're getting all these defeating thoughts because it's failed in the past. And I tried it this way. No, you don't understand. I tried it this way. I do understand. What I'm asking you to do is take a step in another direction. You got feedback when it failed. So now let's just take a step in another direction and forget about your ego. What are my friends going to think of me? Because I said I was going to do this great makeup business, and now I really realize it's against my core values and I'm not in alignment with it. Your friends, if they love you, are going to understand that I got into that. I realized it really wasn't for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm going to continue to search because I'm getting feedback as to what really my purpose is.
Awesome. Well, I could talk to you all day. I just realized we're out of time. So just to recap, what are like the 2-3 things you really want the audience to take away from this interview?
Well, one is for sure that the loves and not it's. Really write down, there's 4 main domains in your life. Start with your relationships, start with your health and well-being, start with your creative expression or vocation, and your time and money freedom. If you have those 4 headers, really get a piece of paper and a pen and write it down. What would I love? So there's one. The other one is that once you have it, then really put it on. Get in that feeling tone of it. Visualize it. Okay? Really put it on. Read it every day. Yeah. This technology works. This is a thinking technology. It really works. Read it every day. I'm so happy and grateful now that. Yeah. Let go of the how. Yeah. That's going to be it right there. Let go of the how. The how is going to paralyze you. What can I do today? What's one thing? What's 10 things? As long as you're not overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's the 3 takeaways I would give everybody. Awesome.
And I believe you have a free gift to share with the audience.
I do have a free gift to share with the audience. And I ask people to take this very seriously. Mm-hmm. If indeed you do this work and you find that you're inspired by it or stuck by it, but you want to learn more, do more, I'm offering a free strategy session, one-on-one with me. And I'll calibrate that vision with you. Normally that would be a few $100s to spend that much time with me, but I want to give it as a gift. I love people designing their life. So any way I can help, I will.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And as a reminder to everyone, the email that you were sent with this video also has a link for you to access this free gift. And yeah, thank you so much, Samantha. I just stopped being able to talk for being here with us. And this concludes today's interview of Motherhood Unlimited. And thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another exciting, inspirational, and helpful interview from Motherhood Unlimited. And I look forward to having you all join us. Talk to you soon. Bye.